on the note of abuse, physical abuse, I want you to check out this clip and we will talk about it after.
Okay, so I was really looking for like anything I could to prove that this was not real. Not that making jokes about this shit is any better. In fact, I almost find it worse. Let me show you what I found in the comments. I'm never dating you. You never had a chance anyways. And just a bunch of comments of people being like, you never had a chance. He would be blessed to be graced with her presence. Oh my God. This person, please be happy that you're not her type. Wait, you ran him over for real? Bunch of people just making jokes. Nice. Now keep in mind at this point through the comments, like I'm still hoping it's a joke, right? And then I find this. He cheated on her and got another woman pregnant. So if this is true, okay, to all the women who are justifying it in the comments, please keep that energy when Chad beats the shit out of his girlfriend because she cheated on him.
Hater or lover, she does talk about true things. But Roma Hami did not mention a couple of things, right? Yeah, she talked about the fact that women be making fun of it in the comment section, and been justifying it, and if it was reversed, that'd be a problem. Yeah, that is all. Those are all correct things to focus on. But now the question is, what led to this? What emboldened women to take such actions with the idea of impunity? Okay, what sealed men's mouths that they are free to talk about this even open, that when a woman will do something like this, even though they know it's wrong, they would just beat around the bush when talking about how bad this thing is? And how come this has not made rounds on the internet, right? How come we don't see any of these popping up as cases of abuse towards men? Or just cases of abuse generally? How come nobody seems to be talking about things like this? I mean, we all know the shitstorm that would arise if the genders were flipped. We all know that, so I'm not going to repeat that. And the reason why we don't do that is because of two things in my perspective. One of them is past efficiencies and stereotypes based on those past efficiencies, right? The idea that the woman is weak and she cannot inflict any damage on a man, so to speak, or women cannot really abuse you. For instance, in terms of sexual abuse, if a woman abuses you sexually, it's because she wanted it. Those are what I call stereotypes based on past efficiencies, but it's more deeper than that. The other reason is also money. It's not lucrative to, in quote, justify or defend the person that is, in quote, strong. Now, these two things work together. That's the stereotype is women cannot abuse men. Why? Because men are stronger, women are weaker, blah, 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 right? So the reasons why these things are so instilled in society because of past efficiencies that even men believe, and money. And there might be also some legitimate conspiracy, but that's a topic for another day, right? So the two main reasons that everybody can resonate with is past efficiencies. What does that mean? I talked about this before. When you base assumptions of today based on the past, even though the time frame has changed, a lot of things will not change with it. For instance, that's why many laws still hold that men, don't get raped, right? I mean, rape is defined as penetration by a penis, right? Now you could tell I'm not really caring about the YouTube algorithm right now because I couldn't care less right now. So I'm not going to censor myself. I'm just going to talk about it openly. Okay? So we have all these problems. We have rape, justified as if it's fine when it happens to men in the social consciousness. All these are based on those efficiencies. You see, the problem is women were allowed to modernize and to improve with the times and to accept better deals. Men were not allowed to do so. Okay, men were still stuck in their plantation, so to speak. Although I use that word lightly because I don't want to come up as somebody that is coming up with these plantation talks and stuff like that, because I don't really like that kind of conversation. But in theory, men are left with these traditional values of protect. And if you know anything about traditional values, you realize that men were expected to be disposable for war, for drafting, okay, for protecting the female and the children. And so when the people tend to see men in suffering, they see men through the past light, through the past efficiencies, through past, developed stereotypes of the times because of how hardship was back in the day. And so when something like this hideous nonsense happens to a man, nobody gives a shit. If a woman runs over a man and kills him, nobody cares. They'll be like, oh man, I usually see one or two stories like, she's toxic, and that's it. It's not going to make a national headline, right? In fact, some women were like telling me, oh my God, things like this are actually kind of funny. I remember there was a case. I was talking with one of my friends where a woman raped a guy. She was like, oh my God, that's actually funny to overpower a strong man. I was like, who told you the guy was strong? Did I put that information in there? And even if it was strong, right, there are many ways to rape somebody. If a dwarf raped Ronald Rosie, right, with pointing a gun at her, would people be like, oh my, that's actually kind of funny? I mean, it's a dwarf. It's a dwarf. It has, I mean, kudos to him. He can overpower a female fighter, and raped her. That's hilarious. Nobody will be saying that. Nobody in their right sense will say that. And the reasons why that is the case is because people tend to, regardless of how strong the woman is, attach the idea that she's harmless to her, and how weak the man is, attach the idea that he's strong and he's a macho dude. So even if something happens to him, they don't really care. Now, that going with saying that people should not put you in that situation regardless whether you're strong or you're weak. People should not justify things happening to you that is bad, whether you're strong or you're weak. That is unacceptable. But this is what the situations have become, right? This is the problem in society. And it's deeper than that. And now, not only that, people are not going further, they're making money out of it. So of course, when majority of media makes slapstick comedy about men getting hurt, beaten, slapped, kicking the balls, spat in the face, all these things, when people are making this kind of comedy and this kind of material on a daily basis, of course they're not going to be criticizing women that are actually doing these things in reality, because that's bad for their business, right? It's almost like criticizing somebody that is doing cosplay, right? Unless you call them out on it and not start doing some PR, you're not going to start telling women that's doing this and be like making movies about it. No, because they're benefiting from females contribute a lot of money to Hollywood, right? In terms of the movies that they're making, dramatic movies and the rest of that. And many of the dramatic movies have a lot of toxic elements to it. So they're not going to go against their money base. That's why they keep pushing these things and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. Now, there's also an agenda, and we'll talk about that later. But from the practical perspective, this is what is going on. People know this, but people have not been able to conceptualize it. People have not been able to bring it to a book and say, okay, this is a problem. Now, what can be done about things like this? Well, what men have always been doing. Because women are not really going to help per se. There's nothing much women can do to help men out in these situations. I mean, I've seen a lot of males right activists, and they are lovely women, many of them. But there's nothing really they can do, because men have to be the one to solve the problem again, right? People were trying to find a way to ask society to change. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. They're going to look at you as a straight white male, or a male, or a guy with a penis and a privilege. They're not going to change that because of you. You have to change it yourself. You have to develop a power base. You have to create content and something that would allow people to gravitate towards you. Then you re-educate them, not in the propaganda fashion, but more of showing them things that they didn't really know was going on. And in a way, it's already happening in the manosphere, but that is kind of chaotic. So they need more organization. They need to spend money on more on other fields to recruit, people from other perspectives, right? Because unless you take the chances, unless you take charge on your own, you are left on your own. The media is not going to go on your side, magically speaking. No amount of protesting is going to change it, right? Now, if you protest in the right way, it could have a blissful effect, but for the most part, that's not going to happen. So it is in our hands, because this is nonsense, right? This is nonsense. And I can tell that people like Roma Amish just keeps getting frustrated with these kind of situations, but there's nothing we can do unless we take charge ourselves. And I will talk about that more later, because we have to start looking at solutions as well, instead of just complaining. Okay, guys, thank you, and I would See you later.